Today on the CTV News at 5, family in mourning. Divers pull the body of a missing boater from the Pine Coulee Reservoir. Plus, thank you. Southern Albertans make sure everyone celebrates Thanksgiving. And
one check, one commitment, and it just seems so smooth.
Trading on the open market, what life is like for farmers without the Canadian Wheat Board.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Happy Thanksgiving Monday, and thank you for joining us. It's been a difficult weekend for the family of a Calgary man whose body was pulled from the Pine Coulee Reservoir this afternoon. The area west of Staveley is a popular fishing spot. The man went missing after the boat he was in capsized Saturday. RCMP tell us two men were fishing on the reservoir when their boat tipped and then both spilled into the lake. RCMP say it was very windy on the lake at the time. One man made it to shore and was taken to hospital in Clare's home to be checked over. He's expected to be just fine. The other man, a 28-year-old Calgary man, did not make it. Almost 24 firefighters, RCMP and search and rescue teams have been scouring the area since Saturday. Around 2 o'clock this afternoon, a dive team using a sonar located the man's body at the bottom of the reservoir and were able to bring it to shore. The man's family and friends spent the weekend on the shores of the reservoir waiting for word. They say they are very grateful to everyone who took time away from their families this Thanksgiving weekend to help their family. The man's name has not been released. A 9-year-old boy is dead after an off-road vehicle rollover near Iron Springs. The young boy was the passenger of the vehicle that rolled around 8 last night. When Picture Butte RCMP responded, the boy wasn't breathing and could not be revived. The boy was taken by EMS to Lethbridge Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. RCMP and collision analysts are continuing to investigate. And a 37-year-old Calgary woman has died while on vacation in southeastern BC. The family was driving northbound on the Kootenay River Bridge at Canal Flats when a large rock was thrown from a trailer wheel, hitting the vehicle. The rock smashed through the windshield, striking the female passenger in the head. The Calgary family was on vacation with their 2 small children at the time. Police believe the rock was stuck between the dual tires on a trailer. No charges have been laid. And 2 people have been released from hospital after separate rollovers near Tabor this weekend. Around 7 last night, this car veered off the road and landed on its roof in the south ditch of the Highway 3 east of Tabor. Officers say the woman driving was taken to hospital for minor injuries. Now, at the same time, a driver lost control on gravel and rolled on Township Road 130 and Range Road 141. The woman driving was treated at hospital for minor injuries. Dory Rossiter, we've got a little bit of everything this week. Some rain, some flurries, some sun.
Yeah, it's going to be like all 4 seasons in one week.
Day.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, 1 week for sure, because as we get towards Friday, things are really going to start to improve. We're going to see a lot of sunshine and some pretty nice temperatures. However, the road from here to Friday, a little bumpy. I'll tell you all about it in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. Well, it was a hot meal in a warm place, but put on by people who care. The Lethbridge Soup Kitchen held its annual Thanksgiving Day lunch today for the families, communities less fortunate.
Thank you. That's for me.
The menu included turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, veggies and dessert. This was the 28th annual Thanksgiving lunch put on by the Lethbridge Soup Kitchen. The first one was held in October of 1984. LA chefs cooked 24 turkeys for the special lunch. Volunteers from the River of Life Community Church in Clonier, Lethbridge helped to prepare and serve the meal to about 120 people.
I love cooking. I used to cook at our church for 6 years, and I just love helping out.
Well, this is my 3rd year coming to do this, and I just feel that sometimes it's good to give back to your community. And what better way than helping out people that are less fortunate.
We've been blessed living in southern Alberta, that's for sure. And so we need to reach out to the people.
Throughout the year, about 30 churches and other groups serve or prepare meals for the Lethbridge Soup Kitchen. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency's beef recall list is growing even longer. This after Hong Kong announced recalls of XL food products, and word nearly that over 1.3 million kilograms of recalled meat made its way across the American border. Additions announced late yesterday include raw beef and ready-to-eat products sold in BC. E. coli was first detected at the Brooks plant September the 4th, but the first public alert came 12 days later. The U.S. Food Inspection Safety Service has tripled the amount of recalled beef to include steaks and roasts. Officials stress that the so-called pre-resumption of operation inspection is a multi-step process and that XL Foods is still a long way from full operation. There are now 11 confirmed cases of E. coli infection in Canada linked to that massive beef recall. The Canadian Public Health Agency identified a new case in British Columbia today. A Quebec couple, Melissa Brulé and Dominic Allaire, are recovering from what they describe as a harrowing ordeal. It's believed they might be the first people in Quebec to fall sick in connection with the recall. Allaire is recovering in hospital. His symptoms were so severe that he was rushed to hospital in an ambulance and was given morphine for his pain. Well, it's the first harvest since the end of the Canadian Wheat Board monopoly, and many local grain producers are capitalizing on the open market. For one family, it's been a lifelong crusade, even to the point of going to jail. Now, after decades of pushing for the change, they're cashing in big. Alicia Fieldberg reports.
It's been a long journey, but Ike Lanier can't stop smiling after cashing his first non-Wheat Board check.
Exciting is an understatement. It was a bit of a buzz.
The 82-year-old has been pushing for an open wheat and Durham market for decades. 10 years ago, he and 12 others faced jail time for trucking grain across the American border in protest of the Canadian Wheat Board monopoly. On August 1st, the men were pardoned and the monopoly ended. The Lanier family is already reaping the benefits of the first harvest in the open market.
Prior to the end of the monopoly, winter wheat was always discounted for whatever reason to hard red spring. But the American grain companies that are buying it now are actually giving prices at the same level.
With the new open market and U.S. drought driving up grain prices, the Laniers say they're making tens of thousands of dollars more this year. They're already working on an American grain alliance to continue capitalizing on new markets.
One check, one commitment, and it just seems so smooth.
The Laniers say they can't find a downside to the end of the monopoly. The American demand for product is also increasing Canadian prices. Pooling with the Wheat Board is still an option, but the Laniers say many producers are holding back until the dust settles.
I don't think any of us realize just what's going to happen. All segments of the industry are going to prosper.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Rod Lanier and several area farmers are finalizing an unprecedented alliance to provide non-till wheat in Durham to Washington and California buyers. A Southern Alberta man is being recognized today for his significant contributions to agriculture. Tom Droog, who turned his sunflower crop into a popular snack food, spit sunflower seeds, is being inducted into the Agriculture Hall of Fame. Droog and his late wife, Emmy, started growing sunflowers as an alternative crop and developed it into Spitz, a company that sells sunflowers and pumpkin seeds. He sold the company to PepsiCo in 2008 after his products captured 75% of the Canadian market. The awards are presented every 2 years, and this year's ceremony is in Edmonton. Now, members of the Crow's Nest Pass Ratepayers Association will be looking for some answers when they meet tomorrow with the mayor and members of Town Council. The association raised concerns after an estimated 90% of the volunteer firefighters in the Crow's Nest Pass handed in their pagers and quit in protest over the termination of Blairmore Fire Chief Jamie Margatak. He was dismissed last Monday. The municipality says there are good reasons for the action, but has declined to release them publicly. Council has agreed to meet with the association executive tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, the suspended chief of the Piikani First Nation is expected to return to work tomorrow. Piikani Chief Gail Strikes with a Gun was suspended for 30 days without pay by Band Council for improper conduct and conflict of interest. Strikes with a Gun went to court in an unsuccessful bid to have the suspension overturned. Band Council told CTV News they were hoping that when the suspension ended, the chief would come back and be part of the team. The Band Council is scheduled to have a regular meeting tomorrow morning. This month marks a significant milestone for women and the Edmonton Police Service. It was 100 years ago on October the 1st that Edmonton hired its first female police officer, Miss Annie Jackson. Darcy James was one of the first 2 female officers with the Lethbridge Regional Police Service and is now the program manager for victim services. She says there have been lots of changes since she joined the force more than 30 years ago. At that time, the police department didn't even have uniforms that fit women.
So they didn't know what to give us, so they just gave what they had in stock, which was men's pants, and the smallest pair of pants was 44-inch. So when they said go to the seamstress and have them taken in, well, then the pockets crossed, and then they realized that they were having to send us to Calgary to get our uniforms made by a tailor there.
Now, the first female officers had to change in a broom closet until separate dressing rooms were built 5 years later. Southern Albertans have the chance to be part of the largest cancer health study in Alberta history this week. Staff from the Tomorrow Project are back in Lethbridge tomorrow until Friday, gathering health information from locals between the ages of 35 and 69 who have never had cancer. They'll have blood collected, measurements taken, and respond to a questionnaire. The information will be used to help find new ways of preventing cancer and other long-term conditions. For information or to join the study, you can visit infortomorrow.ca. Time now for a look at the day's markets.